July 2nd, I'm inspired again to do another video. I want to talk about crypto versus Bitcoin, or Bitcoin. If it's not Bitcoin, it's shitcoin. So I had a friend of mine who, I'm not going to name his name. He's a really good guy. I love him. He's a good friend. Really, his heart's in the right place. And he's, I don't know if he's setting up a channel or some group or whatever he's doing to sort of help educate people about crypto. He sent me a little intro where he talks about how, I got into crypto and Bitcoin not to get rich, not to make money, but because I knew that, governments and central banks manipulate currencies and print money so that they can, control us and all this sort of stuff. And cryptos and Bitcoin, with their transparency and deflationary policy and all this sort of stuff, stand to, give the power back to the people, etc. Now, I am all about facts and not inclusivity. I replied back to him. There's a couple areas here which I question. I personally believe everyone gets into crypto, into Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff to fucking make money for themselves. And there is nothing wrong with that. Going and making money for yourself is a good thing. I don't know why in this age of, social justice warriorism and, political correctness, somebody having the motivation to go out and make money as the reason they work is somehow a bad thing. It's ridiculous. Like, you need to, first of all, let's define what making money is. It is trading your time and effort, your energy, for an object, for this thing called money that you can then later trade to do other things. That's perfectly normal. That there's nothing to look down on about that. So anyone who wants to go and make money, go for it. Happy for you. How you do that, that's a different story, and everyone can have a comment or opinion about that. Some people might choose to bomb innocent people. Some people might choose to go and work at corrupt, crooked, let's say, organizations who want to print money and enrich themselves at the expense of others, etc. Which is much of the argument for Bitcoin and against central banking, central authorities and governments, etc. But the idea that cryptos are somehow transparent or somehow different to the existing financial system is something I find preposterous. Crypto to me is not an answer to anything. It's a distraction at the very, very, very best. That's the best thing you can give it. It's a fun little distraction. And at worst, it's a bigger scam than the existing financial system. Because, the existing financial system is effectively one that transfers wealth from productive people or from, the citizenry to a few call them, self-deified central planners who are close to the monetary spigot. So these, the Cantillon effect means the closer you are to where the money is produced, and money being the resource via which we measure society, via which human beings and their action, their input, their time, their energy is measured. That this is the mechanism through which we effectively have a scorecard, have a way to store labor and have a way to transact that labor and measure it. That is money. So, a select few who effectively self-select and, they've got a little gang, basically give themselves the rights and the ability to produce that and nobody else. And what that does is it creates this distortion in society where the closer you are to where it's produced, the more you benefit. Now, I don't care about anyone's individual benefit, but in any closed system, which is what an economy is, as one benefits from that, the rest pay for it. And that's effectively, to sum up the problem of, central banking and governments and all of that sort of stuff, is by having a monopoly on violence, by having a monopoly on coercion, by having a monopoly on economics and the creation of money, and the management of money in any society, they are able to have an unfair advantage in the game that we all play. Now, the reason cryptos are no fucking different is because the morons who perpetuate, this idea of, the financial system is bad, but my system, which me and my friends built, is better because it's a crypto system built on a blockchain that they control, that it's theirs, that they treat like a product, like a company. All you're doing is you're taking the narrative of building another, let's use this. Imagine if Amazon ruled the world, or imagine if, and again, I've got nothing against Jeff Bezos. Probably I'd take him over, traditional politicians, because at least there's a hierarchy of competence there. But let's say Facebook, right? All you've got is some tech dweebs in the crypto space that are very similar to, the kind of person Mark Zuckerberg arguably is. I haven't met the guy. But you're giving them the ability to not only have, the ownership of the network itself, and particularly disproportionate ownership, but the rights to do stuff with that network. So you think Zuckerberg is bad and Facebook is a problem to the world? And you want to sit here and give these crypto maniacs some sort of pass because they're sprinkling words like, crypto and transparency and blockchain, when they are no different to the existing order. All they are is these entitled little fucking kids, mostly on the left, who their argument is, you're dumb, I'm better, I'm gonna do it my way. They missed the whole fucking point of Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin does away with all of this stuff. It does away with any individual, any group, any party, any ability for somebody to have some sort of, right that somebody else doesn't. The ability for somebody to gain an advantage in the system at the disadvantage of somebody else, or at the cost of somebody, at the expense of somebody else. So, this is why I think crypto is a bigger scam than the existing financial system. If anything, I would almost prefer the existing financial system over the crypto eco DeFi system, whatever the fuck they're calling it these days, because at least in the existing financial system, there are some checks and balances. Just despite how fraudulent it may be and all that sort of stuff, there is some checks and balances. There is some little bit of skin in the game. There is broad infrastructure that's already built, and it's kind of entangled amongst judicial systems and this and that. And not that, again, I'm not supporting the state here, but there is some infrastructure built there. Whereas this whole crypto joke is a bunch of dweebs and nerds running around building a copy of the existing system, but just based on the rules that they want, that they're able to change whenever they want to. They give themselves rights because we built this thing, so we need a reward. So they treat it like a company. Whereas Bitcoin itself was this thing that was given to the market, given to the people, and it emerged. This emergent phenomena is something that people seem to not be able to get their heads across. Is Bitcoin emerged from nothing. The very fact that another crypto or another blockchain project has is hoisted upon us, is built, and launched, by someone, or there's capital raised around it, or there's a team working on it, and all that sort of stuff, defeats the fucking purpose of having an autonomous network that nobody runs. By definition, Bitcoin was a one-time event. The things that happened before Bitcoin came along, and its path-dependent nature. Launched in 2008 by an anonymous developer or group of developers, passed around on the cypherpunk mailing list, initially, mined and distributed by a few, fringe nerds, and then a pizza bought for it. So its value was emergent. It came from nothing. It wasn't priced on a market somewhere by decree, not by fiat, right? So this path dependency and its initial then spread through different lead developers and the open source nature of it and the battles that it's gone through and how how it forms the basis of this new model of network. That kind of stuff you can't replicate, and any copy of it is literally just that. It's fake gold. So and furthermore, let's talk about digital scarcity. I mean, what Bitcoin delivered, particularly in the monetary unit sense, is digital scarcity. It's something that we've never had before. And digital scarcity, by definition, is a one-time event. As soon as another crypto comes along and copies it and changes some variables, like Charlie Lee with Litecoin or whatever other shitcoin that's out there, you're not creating scarcity. There's nothing deflationary there. Deflationary monetary policy in crypto, that doesn't fucking exist. The only, and it's not even about a deflationary monetary policy. It's about a fixed supply money. That's what Bitcoin represents, and you cannot change that at all. Nobody can change that. The largest states on the planet, the biggest powers on the planet, cannot change that. Any other crypto can be changed. Not only voluntarily by the people that run it, but, if someone wanted to, with a little bit of money, can pay the right person, say, double the supply. Simple as that. None of these things are anywhere near what Bitcoin is. None of them represent what Bitcoin is. They're much closer to the existing financial system. And if anything, just a more codified, programmatic way of doing what is already being done in the existing financial system. And the reason that's more dangerous is that at least in the existing financial system, there's a little bit of wetware in the way. There's some human beings in the way that cause at least some checks. We all know what happens when it's all machines running on the existing financial system is you get like flash crashes, when it's all bots. So, the reason I say this whole, DeFi infrastructure on these new cryptos and shitcoins is it's a more fragile version of the existing system. That's all it is. Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck about that. So I've written some notes here. They missed the entire point of Bitcoin, which is to have an autonomous network deliver a guarantee of rules that are unchangeable. Much like this is the social contract. Bitcoin's white paper is like the Constitution of America, which was one of the most successful social experiments ever, which unfortunately has devolved into authoritarianism because of the rise of collectivism and the ability and the inability for human beings to maintain the sanctity of a social agreement, whereas Bitcoin allows the maintenance or the sanctity of those rules through a basic opt-in, opt-out network that is just software. It's information. So it uses the unambiguity of mathematics to deliver those guarantees, as opposed to the promise of a human being. And that again is what's powerful, versus in crypto you fall back to the promises of a human being. All you're doing is just replacing the existing financial guard with a new tech dweeb who would be no different to a Mark Zuckerberg, except you want to give these guys, the power of the fucking financial system as opposed to just the social network. Like, everybody should be against crypto. Simple as that. Everybody should be against shitcoins. Everybody should be against altcoins. They are an abomination. They are everything that Bitcoin stands against. And I want to make this clear. Like, when I first got into this space, I dabbled with shitcoins, and then the further down the rabbit hole I went, then I was like dabbling with shitcoins, trying to convince myself that I can trade, and make more Bitcoin, which you get a lot of people saying these days to justify their shitcoinery. Until these days, man, I've deleted all of that garbage from my life. The more and more I realize the essence of why Bitcoin exists, the more and more I despise the notion of people coming along and rolling their own cryptos. They are distractions at best, scams at the very worst. There's one other thing that I want to mention is, people, try and put forward this idea that, there's, corruption and darkness and all this sort of stuff that crypto, solves by bringing it into the light. Crypto is about bringing light to the world. Fuck that shit. Darkness and privacy are extraordinarily important components of freedom. Bitcoin by definition is dark money. This idea that we should shine a light on every single transaction, and take the viewpoint that governments try and ram down our mouths, ram down our throats. Sorry, is this idea that everything should be KYC. We should be able to track every single transaction. We should know what you're spending, how you're spending it on, why you're buying this shit, and all this sort of stuff. That right there is an authoritarian dystopia. It's a fucking nightmare. The idea of privacy is inextricably linked to freedom. And what we're trying to do here is create a network that is fundamentally free and censorship resistant, that doesn't give a shit who you are, what you are, or why you want to fucking make a financial transaction or an economic transaction. All it cares about is that you are the owner of it. You are the custodian of the private key that enables you to perform a transaction on the network. That is true open freedom. Bitcoin's transparency is not about being able to see every transaction. Bitcoin's transparency is in the fact that these rules of the game are written and they're unchangeable. The rules of the game are in the fucking code that every single node, that every single miner around the world operates. That is the transparency of Bitcoin, and that is the piece that cannot change. None of you can tell me all of the rules of every single different central bank around the world, of all of their monetary policies, of all the government policies, the fiscal policies. It's fucking impossible. No one can do that in a single country, let alone across the whole world. Whereas with Bitcoin, you can run the code, you can see what the rules are. That is the transparency that makes Bitcoin powerful and unable to change and unable to be corrupted. That's where the transparency lies, not in the ability to view everyone's transaction in their financial history. That is antithetical to freedom, which is why building privacy tools on and around Bitcoin is such an important element, to maintaining personal sovereignty and fundamentally financial and human freedom. So, a couple other notes here. So, Bitcoin's transparency is its rules, the idea that the supply is fixed, the parameters are fixed, and the rules of the game are the same for everyone. And if anyone tries to change them to their own advantage at the expense of everyone else, they get booted off the network, i.e. they get forked off. And that's like one of the most beautiful things about Bitcoin, is that anybody can come in. Its open source nature does create a world of mess. So it's like, whilst I'm against shitcoiner and altcoins, I am also a realist in knowing that they're going to get created, because this software by definition is open source. So you're going to have this messy phase during its emergence as a new form of money, and there's going to be all of these scammers and maybe not intentional scammers, but just dumbasses who think they've solved how they're going to fix the world, and that their rules are now somehow superior to a network of I don't know if Satoshi's rules were arbitrary or not, like the 21 million Bitcoin, the 10-minute blocks and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if that was arbitrary or not, but it doesn't matter. The fact that they're fixed is what's important. The fact that nobody can now change them is what's important. Whereas somebody rolling their own crypto and thinking that the 21 million variable, the 10-minute block, whatever other bullshit variable in there, is the thing that's wrong, and tries to change that, by definition defeats the purpose of why Bitcoin was built in the first place, which is this unchangeable, autonomous network that achieves consensus every 10 minutes. That's where the power lies of this thing. So, and you can go ahead and copy that and you get knocked off to another network, and Bitcoin doesn't care. And then, you go and do that, you waste your time, your energy, your money, and then over time, you'll end up coming back into Bitcoin. And Bitcoin will still be there, and it'll be the same rules, and you have an opportunity to rebuild again. Should you want to climb Mount Stupid, which, you know, a lot of us have done. There's very few people that I know that haven't climbed Mount Stupid. And the last thing I'll touch on here is this whole DeFi thing, decentralized finance. I mean, it's a replication of the existing system, as I said earlier, only more fragile. It is more prone to catastrophic collapse because it's all programmatic. You know, it's all built on shaky software. It's all, you know, it's all naturally designed to remove wetware, remove checks and balances so that things can process. So in the bid for efficiency, this is classic Silicon Valley mentality, is in the bid for efficiency and doing things faster, in a race, in this blind race for more yield, for more now. Like this whole high time preference attitude of doing things removes any ability to temper a catastrophic event. And therein lies the problem with the existing financial system and the direction we're going with that, which is exactly what all of these crypto dweebs and DeFi monkeys and Ethereum people and every other shitcoiner out there is adopting. You know, that they're buying into the ability, they're buying into the notion of more now. That they're applying a high time preference mentality, a high time preference view of the world. To their own little science project or their own little tech project to somehow do things better and faster. Whereas the philosophy around Bitcoin is to come back to low time preference, to come back to understanding that you don't have to chase fucking yield like a deranged maniac, you know, to try and make my returns on compound or whatever other ridiculous DeFi application there is out there. The whole point of Bitcoin is to learn to save again, to slow down, to stop trying to chase and beat everyone, to stop trying to burn through all your fucking resources in a chase for something you don't even understand. You know, you're just running because fucking everybody else is running, instead of stopping for a moment and thinking, why? Why am I running? You know, so Bitcoin allows for that moment to save, to take stock of what your resources are, and then to intelligently decide how to allocate those resources. You know, those resources being the crystallized form of your time and energy. You know, your labor in a crystallized form, your money. That's what Bitcoin is, and that's why it's the one and only. You know, we don't need to go and chase this. You know, Bitcoin wants you to. Bitcoin doesn't want you to do shit. Bitcoin incentivizes you to slow down for a moment and to think a little bit longer term, and to think about how we can transform the system from first principles with a whole new set of, you know, digital primitives that are built on principles like private property rights, like you know, the ability to voluntarily opt in and opt out, you know, the ability to perform any sort of economic transaction without having to ask permission, without being able to be censored. Those fundamental pillars are what are the ingredients for a new, freer economic system. And then the subset of that, you know, well, the derivative of that new economic substrate is the ability to rethink society. That's where, sorry, I ate too much food earlier. That's where the opportunity lies. That's where the new vision of the future is. Not, you know, blindly try to be a tech bro so that you can create your next DeFi to beat the traders on Robinhood because my crypto's better. They missed the entire point. They missed the entire point. It's frustrating, so I had to say this because, you know, particularly when I hear it from people who, you know, I consider my friends and people I care about, you know, when they've sort of bought into the nonsense and then they, you know, out of a good intention, go and then perpetuate this nonsense, you know, as if crypto is something, you know, transformational or revolutionary. It's a fucking scam, man. Like, let's just be real. Shitcoins are a scam. Crypto is a scam. Blockchain is a scam. They're all They're all distractions at best, as I said, and scams at worst. What we are trying to do here is change the base incentives for society and start that from scratch. And the benefit that you get from being part of that movement early is that as the rest of the world catches up through just pure economic Darwinism, pure economic survivalism, Gresham's law, the desire to hold wealth in something that cannot be confiscated, manipulated, or inflated, where your wealth cannot just be diluted away. People are going to want to hold some Bitcoin. The fact that it doesn't change is such a powerful element. And the more people that want some of that, the fact that you are early, you have the opportunity to be rewarded on a relative economic basis by holding Bitcoin. Because you are now buying it before the rest of the world understands how to price this thing. And therein lies the investment opportunity. You're not going to have more Bitcoin, by sitting on it and holding it, unless you want to put it in some fucking interest-bearing, Bitcoin fucking thing, whatever, I'm not going to name any names, but there's products out there that you guys know I'm talking about, and that's fine. If you want to do that, go for it. Just need to understand the risks associated with it. I don't advocate that personally. But, what you're doing is you're able to buy Bitcoin now while it's cheap. This is the thing that you're getting by getting into Bitcoin now. It's just like buying gold 5,000 years ago when everyone else was still using salt or shells or fucking rocks or anything like that. You are buying mispriced Bitcoin. You are buying mispriced Satoshis, realistically, because in the future we're not going to be dealing in Bitcoin individually, we're going to be dealing in sats. So this is the opportunity that you want to take advantage of now. You're 15, 20, 30, 40 years ahead of the rest of the world. So take advantage of that. You don't need to go and chase more yield or fuck around with DeFi and get wrecked. Take a moment to save. Take a moment to be sensible. Take a moment to accumulate capital so that you can decide what to do with it later in a more intelligent fashion. So anyway, I'll finish this here. I hope I got my point across. I'll do another video in the future on why Bitcoin and not shitcoin, and why everything else other than Bitcoin is a shitcoin, and I'll sort of go into a little bit more of the the technical elements. But for now, I hope that this is enough to really get you to think a little bit deeper and stop giving a pass to crypto, because it doesn't get a pass. It is no different. Like, it literally stands on the side of the existing financial system, but pretends to be on the side of Bitcoin. So for me, that hypocrisy is actually worse than knowing who my enemy is, which is the existing financial system. And I think that's such an important piece to take. And this is why all Bitcoiners should take a strong stance against shitcoins, altcoins, cryptos, blockchain, and all that sort of stuff, because it is all a distraction or a scam. So thank you again. Really appreciate you listening. Share this around. Share this to any friends that you've got that are like pro Bitcoin and also pro crypto. Again, I don't mean to sound arrogant, so I hope that this actually helps inspire a little bit deeper thinking. I know I'm very aggressive, to say the least, in the way I describe these things, but it's for a reason. It's because I actually give a crap about what we're doing here. There is a much larger thing at play, and that is the embodiment and the encoding of fundamental principles and rights like private property and freedom, and the right to choose, being built on this new network. It's such a big thing. Don't need to distract ourselves with other stuff. We need more people to see that and get behind that cause. So I'll shut up. See you on the next episode. Thanks again for listening.